In this video, we will talk about floating static route. Why floating static route is required. Floating static routes are static routes that are used to provide a backup path to a primary static or dynamic route in the event of link failure. Floating static route is only used when the primary route is not available. In order to accomplish this, the floating static route is configured with a higher administrative distance than the primary route. For example, if you have an administrative distance of 1, that's going to be allocated for the primary route. And if you have distance metric, for example, a higher value than primary route, say for example 5, that will be considered as your secondary route. In case if the primary route is having any issue, the path takes over to the destination using secondary route. Let's learn more in details with the lab and configuration. This lab is a continuation of our previous video related to static route. The link of this video where we configured static route, I will be adding that in the description box below. You can find that. And at the moment, we already have IP routes configured for these two routers, and you can verify the same. Show IP route. So we have the two directly connected network, and we have configured static IP route on this router in order to reach this loopback address destination. And for this router 5, you can also verify that we have configured static route. Show IP route. You can see that there are two directly connected networks. That is 10.1 network and 20.1 network. And statically, this has been assigned to 30.1 network via next hop address, which is 10.1. Okay, that's what we see here. And you're also able to reach this loopback address from this router. It's 20.1.1.1. And similarly, we can reach from router 5 to this loopback address over here. Ping 30.1.1.1. At the moment, we do not have another link here. Okay, let's add another link to this router and see if load balancing occurs. Okay, and this network, I'll give IP address, say 40.1.1.0. So this port here will be 40.1.1.1. This will be 40.1.1.2. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and configure this IP address for both of this port. So on the router 4, let's select the port number, fast Ethernet 0/0, IP address 40.1.1.1.1 with /24 subnet mask, and say no shut. You need to configure the IP address for this port. Interface fast Ethernet 0/0 with IP address 40.1.1.2. It's /24 and say no shut. For some reason, let's verify if we have turned on this port here. Okay. So now let's verify the IP address. Show IP interface brief. You got two port here and you loop back. Okay. And here show IP interface brief. Okay. So we configured IP address for both the port and for the loopback. Okay, so now we have two links here. Okay, so traffic can be passed alternative way. Let's try to see if we can ping our loopback address, which is right here from router 4, ping 20.1.1.1. It's pinging. Okay, let's try to do a trace route and you can see which path it is using in order to reach the loopback address. So trace route 20.1.1.1. So for now it's using 10.1. Let's try to do a trace route again. Again, trace route same loopback address. It's using 10.1.1.2. At the moment, we do not have IP static IP address configured here, because if you give show IP route, you can only see this is the only hop address that's configured to reach this loopback. It does not have 40.1 IP address. So we need to add the static route for this newly added network. Okay, so go to the router 4, IP route, destination address, I mean the destination network address. It is 20.1.1.0 and it's /24. And the next hop address. This is the next hop address for this router 4 on this network. This is going to be the next hop. So that's going to be 40.1.1.2. Similarly, configure static route on router 5 for the secondary route that we just added. So IP route loopback destination network address, which is 30.1.1.0 /24. And the next hop is going to be 40.1.1.1. Okay, so now you have 2 static routes on each of the routers. Let's verify. Show IP route. So you can see there was 2 static routes that you just configured. So it's reachable via 10.1, which is the primary, and 40.1, that is the secondary route which is added. Similarly, on this router, show IP route, you can see the primary route and the secondary route. Okay, let's see if there is a load balancing that's happening by doing a traceroute command to the destination loopback address. So from the router 4, I'm trying to traceroute this loopback 0, 20.1.1.1. So let's try to first ping it. 20.1.1.1, 100% success rate. Let's try to trace route 20.1.1.1. So traffic is passing via secondary link. Again, try to do a trace route. Same loopback address. It's passing via primary link. Okay. Again, if you want to try 20.1.1.1, it's taken the secondary. So this keeps going in an alternative way, and that's because of the load balancing. But now I don't need a load balancing. All I need is, in case if the primary route goes down, there's something wrong with the primary interface, then I would need the traffic to pass to this loopback 0 with the help of secondary. Okay, and that's what I want to configure here, and that's why I am going to use floating static route. I don't need to have the AD value 1 here. Okay, so I'm going to remove one of the value for the secondary. Let's name this link as being primary, and the AD value here is by default 1, and this being the secondary. So I'll add the distance metric. 5. It has to be higher than the primary. Yeah. Here the distance metric is 1 by default. Okay, let's try to remove the secondary routes that we just added and make some changes. Okay, this is this secondary static route. I'm just going to copy that. Let's remove this. Okay, I'm just removing the secondary static route that we just added. Let's add floating static route with AD value greater than primary. Let's go to configuration mode, IP route. The destination loopback network address, that's going to be 20.1.1.0, 255.255.255.0. Next hop address being 40.1 20.1.2. So this is going to be the secondary route. And if you give a question mark, it says distance metric for this route has to be between 1 to 255. Since 1 is already AD value for primary, we need to choose higher value in order to make this route as a secondary route. Okay, so this is configured. Similarly, you can configure a floating route here, but you have already configured a static route already. So let's remove that. Enable configuration mode. No IP route. I'm just removing the old routes. I'm going to add floating route with AD value 5. Okay. So IP route. I'm just going to exit and come back again. IP route. Destination loopback address. That is the network address. 30.1.1.0. 255.255.255.0 and your next hop address, which is this port here, that's 40.1.1.1. And do not forget to give the AD value distance metric 5 because this is going to be a secondary route. Okay, now we have configured floating static routes on the router 4 and router 5. Okay, let's go ahead and check the routing table. Show IP route. You can see there is presence of primary route. Okay, you will not be able to see the secondary route that you just configured because the primary link is still up and running. And similarly, on router 5, you will still not be able to see the static secondary route. If you just say show IP route, you are still seeing 10.1 network, which is your primary. And secondary static route is not seen. The reason is because primary route is still up and running. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shut down this port here, okay, and then check for the traffic. Even if you give a traceroute command, .1.1.1, the traffic is still passing from 10.1 primary. If you give another traceroute, it will still be passing via primary and not secondary. Okay. Yeah. You will only see the transformation when the primary link goes down. Let's go ahead and turn off this interface for the primary. The port over here is fast Ethernet 0/1. Okay. And just say shut down. Okay. We turned off this primary interface now. Let's check if you can ping the loopback address. Ping 20.1.1.1. Yeah, it's pinging. But what's the route? Let's see a trace route. 20.1.1.1, you see that it's taken a secondary route that we just configured. If you want to check the routing table, show IP route. Now you can see there is presence of secondary route. Okay. The reason is because the primary has gone down and you can see a secondary static route here. Okay. Similarly, from router 5, you can ping the loopback address which is present on router 4, 30.1.1.1. It's pinging. You can try to do a trace route. 30.1.1.1. It's taken the path for secondary link. Again, if you want to do a trace route, it's same secondary route. Okay, so that's all about floating static route. So what we just observed is in floating static route, unless the primary link goes down, the secondary link will not be functioning. You will not be able to see that in the routing table. You can only see the secondary static route in your routing table once you turn off the primary interface. This completes the lab for floating static route. I hope that this video has been helpful to you all. See you in the next video.